Early History of the Blues by Andrea Bailey. Lost and entangled in the dark history of America's past, the history of the blues is sad, just as its name sounds. We will unfortunately never know who wrote the first true blues song, but undoubtedly early blues music is the foundation on which rock and roll, rhythm and blues, and many other American music genres we listen to today are influenced by. Many people accept that the blues originated on the plantations of the Mississippi Delta in the deep south of the United States, sometimes around the 1890s, a time when slavery, racism, and segregation were rampant and commonplace in the South. Unequivocally, the earliest known roots of the blues developed from different styles of ancestral traditional music from many parts of the world. Music styles including that from the Middle East, Spain, Arabia, and Africa all share musical influence to the blues. More specifically, the music, rhythms, and experiences of African Americans who had endured hardships and slavery played a key role in the musical evolution. The long, laborious days in the fields of the plantations were often passed by singing work songs, commonly using the holler and call and response style of singing. Many different sounds and styles of the blues emerged throughout the time. The earliest styles were called country blues. Uniquely, each style of country blues differed depending on the region of the country the songs were played and recorded in. The style that had the most direct effect on the development of rock music is known as the Delta blues. Originating deep in the southern Mississippi Delta region between Memphis and New Orleans, the Delta blues is known to be the first and most prolific style that developed during the early 1900s. The lyrics were very raw, rough, expressive, and emotional, but the rhythmic exuberance caused the widespread explosion and popularity of the style. Since little documentation exists in regards to the origin of the blues, the earliest evidence is arguably traced back to Antonio Maggio in 1908. Maggio published what is believed to be the first blues sheet music titled I Got the Blues, or at least, however, one of the first published songs with the word blues in its name, because technically it was more of a ragtime style of music than a blues style of music. It wasn't until 1912 when the blues would be recognized as a genre permanently. W.C. Handy, widely known as the father of the blues, was an African-American musician, composer, and publisher. He put the genre on the map when he wrote and published his song, Memphis Blues, becoming the first successful commercially published blues song. Evidence of the first recorded blues songs followed almost a decade shortly thereafter. In New York City, inside the Okia Records recording studio, history and the American perception of the blues was about to take a dramatic turn. August 10, 1920, would go down in history as the day that changed the lives of African American musicians in America forever. White Americans up to this point did not widely accept music played by black musicians. Mamie Smith and a talented group of African American musicians named the Jazz Hounds laid down 2 head-turning tracks that day. Crazy Blues amassed great success, allegedly selling more than 1 million copies in the first year. The jolting success ignited the interest of recording companies and spurred high demand for talented African American musicians. Blues pioneer Robert Johnson was one of those talented musicians, gaining notoriety in the late 1930s. Known for his plagiancy, expressive, emotional songwriting, and artful, complex guitar playing, Johnson is dubbed the King of the Delta Blues. Although his career was short-lived, he recorded 29 songs. Often recording in makeshift studios in Texas, Johnson faced great challenges when larger recording companies were not interested in his music. As a result of limited distribution opportunities, he saw very little public recognition or commercial success in his lifetime. After Johnson's mysterious untimely death, the music that he left behind amassed great success, and his song, Crossroads Blues, later became a drawing inspiration for the future of musical geniuses for generations to come. Sought-after blues musicians were mainly men. However, women like Memphis Minnie, Bessie Smith, and Ma Rainey also shared in the spotlight and had reasonably successful careers. Their passionate and dauntless vocal styles introduced a new style of blues called the classic blues, paving the way for women's acceptance in the recording industry as well. As blues music continued to transform, a young man heavily influenced by the infamous Delta bluesman Robert Johnson, Muddy Waters was making his mark in the music world. Waters was a self-taught musician who started playing the harmonica before ultimately switching to the electric guitar. His style was so unique that the word of mouth traveled fast, and he was sought out by a folklorist who recorded Muddy Waters for the Library of Congress. Only playing parties in small towns, he was inspired by the fact that he could have a successful musical career in the burgeoning wartime economy. The emerging blues scene inside the Chicago nightclubs encapsulated a new and up-and-coming generation. Moving to North Chicago in 1943, Muddy Waters took Chicago by storm with his powerful, gritty country blues music style. Waters' big break came when leading Chicago blues performer Big Bill Bronzy invited him to be the opening act of his shows. Signing with Chess Records in 1948, Muddy Waters' first hit songs, I Can't Be Satisfied and I Feel Like Going Home, were recorded, cementing his place in blues history. Muddy Waters soon became known as the King of the Chicago Blues. His music style, along with earlier blues men and women, had a timeless, multi-generational effect on the evolution of the blues and future popular music styles.